Alrighty, we are out here in the garage, ready to get busy. And if you look over my shoulder, you'll see there's a brand new radiator sitting there in the box in the Jeep, waiting to go in the front of the Jeep. That's not what we're going to work on today. We got to do a little work on the Tacoma. And the reason we're going to do this first is because I am driving that again this summer and doing camping trips and so forth. And just in case I get the spontaneous urge to go camping, I got to have that thing ready to roll. So what we're doing today is we're doing the front disc brake upgrade from extremeterrains.com, and I forget what name of the actual manufacturer of the brakes are, but I'll find that and put it down here, and then I might put a link in the description too, because folks often ask me to link up the parts. But basically what you get with this kit is you get a new set of pads, and these are from extremeterrain.com, and the pads are now that noisy truck's gone by, the pads are carbon ceramic pads, so that's cool. And then I also did buy, you can buy while you're buying there, while you're shopping, you can get new bolts to hold your calipers in place. And I just thought, you know, these were not very expensive for two of them, one for each set of calipers. I got two packages of what I'm trying to tell you, but they're cheap, and I figure those bolts have been in there for a couple of 100,000 miles now, and probably not a bad idea to put new bolts on there. The kit also comes with replacement pins, the little pins that go through the caliper to hold the pads in place, and then new springs, clips, so you don't have to worry about the old ones coming out of there. And they give you a little bit of lubricant to put on those pins. And then the caliper, or the disc, looks like that. So drilled and slotted. And just so you know, these are directional. So they're labeled from the manufacturer, and let's see if I can get this up where you can kind of see the label. Maybe you'll be able to see it. This one says front passenger side. So obviously this is going on the passenger side, which is the one we're going to do first anyway. So lucky it was at the top of the box. So new rotors, new pads, and then I did just buy a tool to expand the pistons in the caliper back out to, you know, full open, so that I can put new pads in there. Because if you're familiar with how calipers work, you know, I'm sure you are if you're watching this channel, but you know that the pistons kind of push in against the pads, and they push in and push in and push in, and they stay in as the pads wear down. So when you're putting new pads on, you put one of these little devices in, and you can kind of ratchet this out, and it will extend that back out. Now I bought this little cheap thing from Walmart.com. Don't tell anybody. It was like 20 bucks, and it comes with the tool and a pair of S hooks. And what you use these for is when you take your rotor or your caliper off the rotor, you're not going to unhook the brake lines. So this job does not require you to unhook that and bleed the brakes and all that. But while you're working, you need some way to kind of suspend the caliper from the frame while you're working, so it's not hanging from the brake line. So they give you two of these, and then the tool itself. So like I said, this little kit was like 20 bucks, something like that. It's pretty cheap. So I normally don't really shop at Walmart, but I figured this is probably one of those things that wasn't really that big a deal to go with the cheapest. So I went with the cheapest. So there we go. Now, I've got the taco pulled in the garage here. I am going to swing you around so you can kind of look over my shoulder, and we'll tear into the passenger side, get that done, and that's all I'll show you, unless something goes wrong or something. But I won't bother showing you me doing both sides of this thing. But we're going to run through one of them, and I may stop periodically and give you a little tip or trick or anything if I find one, and then the rest of the time I'll probably maybe just have a little background music playing so I can listen to a little music while I'm doing this. So let's tear in and get these mitts dirty. All right, I thought I'd just show you kind of what we look like as we're ready to button this back up. We've now got a gap between our pads and our rotor because, again, we've pushed those cylinders back as far as they'll go. So in a lot of the videos, the installation videos that the brake manufacturer puts out, instead of these cotter pins here, there's a single pin that goes into the end of both of these pins to hold it here. Also, that lubricant stuff that I've got came with it, said you're supposed to put a little on the ends of these. So I put a little on the end of each end of this pin. So it's lubricating the pin where it passes through the cast part. Now, one mistake I did make is initially I took these bolts out. And I thought this one and this one, these are not the bolts you want to take out. You want to take out these back in here, this one and this one. And then I put my, hopefully you can see that, I put my new bolts in their place, and then we took our brake line bracket and put that guy back on. Now, the torque spec for those brackets that I looked up said 90 pounds, so that's what I torqued them to. I did not torque these back down to 90 pounds because they don't, I'm not sure what they're even holding, but yeah, the rotor came right off, no troubles. So I've got my new rotor on, and again, we made sure we're on the passenger side on the front according to our sticker. All right, we got that job done. I did want to recap a couple things. So you're going to need a 12 millimeter socket to take off your brake line bracket. You're going to need a 17 millimeter to take off those caliper bolts. And then you really just need, maybe a pair of needle nose pliers to get those little cotter pins out, unless you have the clips. And in that case, you might, well, I'd still use needle nose pliers. I did put on my safety glasses before I ran my impact wrench. I always do that just because, the thought of a socket exploding, especially because I wasn't using impact sockets for that. I didn't have a 17 millimeter impact socket. I have a set of impact sockets, but they're SAE ones. So I would not have had a socket that fit that bolt. So I had to do it with a regular 12-sided socket, which is a little nerve-wracking with an impact wrench, because it's a hammering away and you don't have that thick socket wall. So that part I was flirting with danger a little bit. I will say that the first side takes you 2 hours. They say this is a 3-hour job. The first side takes you 2.5 hours, and the second side takes you 30 minutes because you know what you're doing. So the second side went much faster. And also the first time around, I hadn't remembered to turn the wheel out to give myself room to work, so I had to kind of put the tire back on and set it down. Now, you saw me working also off of a floor jack, but I did have a jack stand. I got 2 heavy-duty jack stands, and I had one of those behind the wheel up directly under the frame. So while the weight was sitting mostly on the floor jack, if the floor jack would have decided to exit the premises, we'd have come down onto a jack stand and should have been just fine. So I'll pump up the brakes again on this side. I do believe I heard, or I read somewhere on comments about this thing, that you did want to follow their kind of break-in instructions for the brakes, and I have not seen those yet. I kind of expected there to be something in the box that said do this, but I didn't see anything. So I'll go upstairs and jump on YouTube and see what I was kind of following the installation instructions, and we'll see if they've got some guidance there for what to do to break these in. I would expect to just go easy on the brakes, but a couple things I'm going to note here. I'm going to pump the brakes again before I leave because, now this driver's side is fully back from the pad, or the pistons are fully back, expended. And so I'm going to set those back in. I'm going to drive it a little bit. And I am going to come back in and retorque my lug nuts just because, I had that drum completely off and it's got to settle itself in there tight on that hub. And I want to make sure it's centered well and everything's tight. So here's a question for you. Do you use a torque wrench when you do your lug nuts? I typically do. I believe there's a reason that they made torque wrenches, and there's a reason that every kind of bolt has torque settings. When you look anything up, I mean, like those bolts, those 17 millimeter bolts to hold the brackets on were 90 foot-pounds, I think it was, or maybe 91. I put them at 90. And my lug nuts for the Tacoma are rated at, supposed to be at 83 pounds. So I set my torque wrench to 83 pounds and I tighten them up till they beep. A couple reasons I do that. First of all, again, I feel like it's putting the proper amount of pressure on the tire and holding it in. But second of all, it's not overdoing it. I mean, when I was breaking those loose on the driver's side, the passenger side wasn't too bad. When I was breaking them loose on the driver's side, well, I was yanking on that breaker bar to get them loose. Somebody had tightened them down. I think the problem is the guys in the tire shops do them with an impact gun, and who knows what they got the torque spec set on that thing, and they can really tighten them down. And if you're out there in the boonies somewhere on a rainy Saturday night stuck in the mud and you took a tire off the rim or something and you got to change that thing, you don't want to be fighting overly tightened lug nuts. So that's why I do that. One last thing as well. Now the passenger side rotor came right off. The driver's side rotor did not. So I also recommend that you have on hand some 1/2-inch bolts. This looks like just a regular 1/2-inch coarse thread. It's a 1/2-inch head. I don't know if that's the way to properly identify that bolt. But anyway, I had to screw these into that hole on the rotor to break it loose. You screw it in there and it just takes another half a turn. Once it hits the hub, it just, you hear it kind of blink and it pops loose. So it's not like you're putting a ton of stress on that to get them off there, but you might need that. So you may want to have those on hand as well, just a couple of 1/2-inch bolts with coarse thread, and I just used an open end wrench to just tighten them down until they popped loose. So it wasn't a big deal, but that was helpful to be able to pop those off with the bolt. So if I learn any fascinating instructions for seating these things the first time around or breaking them in or whatever you want to call it, I will update you with that information. If you hear no more from me, then there wasn't anything to it other than just drive a little bit, go easy, drive a little bit, go easy on the brakes, So we'll find that out. We'll take her for a spin, bring her back in, tighten up the lug nuts, call this job done. All right, well, I'm almost done with the brakes, but I told you I'd come back and tell you if this break-in procedure was very complicated. So I pulled up the Powerstop.com website where these brakes come from. And there is indeed quite the process here. Well, it's not quite the process, but it's going to be a bit of a challenge. So basically what it says to do is do 5 moderate to heavy stops from, and not full, don't come to a full stop, but you're supposed to go from 40 miles an hour down to 10, 5 times in a row, moderate to heavy, without letting the brakes cool in between. And then immediately after that, do 5 more from 35 to 5, being more on the moderate side. And it says if you do have to come to a stop, let the brakes off and let yourself roll a little bit so that the pads don't lay down the material all in one spot. But apparently what we're going to do is heat up the pads, and the resin is going to, and the pads are going to apply a little layer on the drum, or on the rotor. So yeah, and then, so you do 5 heavy from 40 to 10, 5 moderate from 35 to 5, and then you drive around as long as you can. They said at least 10 minutes to let everything cool down normally without stopping if you can do it. And then you're done. So I got to think, I'm thinking, where am I going to find a road where I can go up to 40, down to 10, up to 40, down to 10, without having somebody collect me from behind, or without some cop thinking I'm doing something improper. So, but it's like 5 o'clock. So it's everybody going home from work time. It would be a very bad time to try to go out and do this. So I'm going to wait a while and think about which roads are kind of open and not too busy. And about, 7 o'clock or so this evening, I'll go out and do that. So for right now, we're done with the project, but I just wanted to let you know that is what you do is break them in properly. And I've always heard that's really important. That makes all the difference is how you heat those up. And especially what they're saying with these carbon ceramic pads is they are going to apply a layer of the resin and the material to the slotted drum or rotors. I keep saying drums, but rotors. And that's what you're trying to do, is heat that pad up, let it apply its thing. And it says you may even smell the smell of the resin while you're doing it, and that's normal. So there you go. That's the break-in procedure.